Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Florida Relocation Guide. I am your host, Adam Hancock, once again. And today, we are still here in December 2023, obviously. But I thought it was a great time to approach an update of my A to Z Sarasota, Florida Metro Guide, a video guide. So the one video to replace all videos, if you had to pick one and watch 25 minutes of a video, this is the one to help you understand the area the best. We're about 12 months removed from the 2023 version now. That's a good one to watch too. And I wanted to take a different approach. So rather than just being like, this is the culture and things to do and lifestyle and neighborhoods, I wanted to do a unique arrangement to the video that I just thought would be a lot more relevant to what people care about now. I want it to apply to 2024, not just to be a broad brush blog article about Sarasota. So I really hope this provides you a ton of value and it comes across that way. If you haven't already grabbed my 2024 relocation downloadable guide to Sarasota, Manatee County, grab that. I give my recommendations of neighborhoods, new construction neighborhoods. And this one I added my favorite restaurants, my favorite like gyms and saunas and spas and every category, schools, everything like that. So grab that if you haven't already done so. And without further ado, let's hop in. Okay, what we're gonna do here game plan wise is I basically have 7 distinct concepts I wanna walk through. And the thought process is the many different ways to live in and around the Sarasota, Florida metro. And by walking through each of these 7, and you sitting back saying, oh, I maybe fit in this box or these boxes don't fit in this one, or, and more importantly, the context and the juxtaposition amongst them, I think it's a fantastic and memorable way to consume the town, to learn about the town. Because you're trying to solve a problem, you're thinking you may be this kind of person, and the more information you learn, the more context you have, then you can really know this is for me, this isn't for me. And I can explain things way more tied to like demographic and style and a local's perspective in this format. That's what we're gonna do. I hope it's valuable. Number 1 on that list in no particular order is one of the sexiest options Florida has to offer right now, and that's the Waterside district in Lakewood Ranch. And this is basically the Sarasota County element of Lakewood Ranch, Florida, which is a vast area, 50,000 acres, number 1 multi-generational suburb in the United States, huge. But this is the new element. It's the lower one, University Parkway to Fruitville. And what you have here is maybe the best mousetrap when it comes to the suburbs. If you're thinking you're a suburban person and you're looking anywhere in Florida at suburbs, this might be the number 1 if you had to pick one. And because it's value on top of value on top of value, it's a city within a city. It's bundled. Everywhere you turn around, it's bundled. You not only have one of maybe the best location in Lakewood Ranch itself, so as it applies to one suburb, but also to the state and to Southwest Florida as a whole, it's right up in that conversation. And some examples of that are, one, you solve some problems that suburbs traditionally miss. You don't have any downtowns, it's all chain restaurants. Like, of course, you get great housing and your money goes further, but that's because you're far from town, right? Well, Lakewood Ranch gets up there with everything but the beach. And Waterside is the winner in that conversation in totality. Downtown Waterside changed everything. That's a proper downtown. You have 25-foot sidewalks. You have a brewery, distillery. There's a splash pad. There's multiple restaurants, boutiques. There's gyms. There are volleyball courts. There's a farmer's market on Sundays. There's a water taxi. I could keep going. But in addition to the walkable downtown that your district has applicable to it, then you take Lakewood Ranch, right? There's already a downtown Lakewood Ranch. Well, that's 3 miles from here. Then you have University Town Center, luxury mall. There's restaurants and a bunch of stuff on both sides of the street. There's a full park. They do like the crew rowing championships there. You have the Center Point District. Owen's Fish Camp from downtown went over there. Ruth Chris Steakhouse just opened. All that's right here. So you not only get the best of Waterside, which is its own thing, but you get the best of all the best of Lakewood Ranch as well. And then you have big lakes. You have like-minded people, a community feel, because it attracts a certain amount of people, because the suburbs are easier to control demographic because you can't control it. But similar people are attracted to similar stuff, and a lot of them are relocating. So it's like being a freshman in college again. And it's a lot easier, even if you're not very social, to meet people here. 60 plus clubs. There's hundreds of events every year. Accidentally meeting people, or your kids' friends, all that kind of stuff is a lot more feasible in an area that most people try to get there for the same reasons, similar reasons. Well, in addition to all of that, in 2024 now, you have access to something that was really lacking, variety in housing. Because there used to be like 3 neighborhoods. You had Shoreview, you had Lake House Cove, you had Windward, which people don't say it's on Waterside, but it's right there. And a lot of it was expensive and it was niche and it made people love Waterside. Everybody loved Waterside. But it made, those were some of the reasons you couldn't get in there because those 3 neighborhoods didn't work. Well, now you have 9 to 11, 12 different neighborhoods, right? And you have affordability So you have not only the most luxurious neighborhoods existing right now, like Wild Blue, going up to $5 million, having, luxury condominium level amenities, 500 homes in the whole neighborhood, right? You have Kingfisher Estates, 13 total homes, all that kind of stuff. But you also have $280,000 townhomes. You have $350,000 single family homes. You have cool modern stuff like David Weekley's doing with Emerald Landing. And you have Lake House Cove, Shoreview, Windward, but then you have Avanti, Alcove, Nautique, Emerald Landing, Kingfisher Estates. You have the new Homes by Town community being built under Wild Blue. There's a Toll Brothers right around the corner. You could go on and on and on. So now you have the housing, you have all the stuff you were missing from the downtown, the restaurants and the culture and all that of the town. And with Fruitville Commons right below you, you got everything but the beach. So if you're looking at all that and you're like, yeah, obviously that's the best one. Why wouldn't I choose that other than not liking new construction suburbs? Well, a couple things that, just to play devil's advocate, that Waterside maybe is still lacking. One, regardless of the way you slice it, 35 minutes one way to the beach, Lido Beach. And Siesta Key's further south by about 6 miles. That's not 35 miles. That's not, most people that look at these videos live an hour and a half from the beach now, but food for thought. Schools. You crossed into Sarasota County, which is cool, which means you went south, but also beyond school choice, you lose access to Manatee County schools. So this area didn't exist. So the high school, the public high schools, and even the middle schools aren't located right around here. So the school thing's a little weird because you're going to areas that were not meant for this area. So when they're coming, the schools are coming, it's going to be amazing, but they're not quite here yet. If you have a family, there could be a timing element on public, highly rated schools. That's another one. And right now, Waterside has no bundled in the neighborhood golf presence. There's not a single neighborhood that has golf inside Waterside. Again, there's no land there to do that. So you got to navigate the Country Club West wait list, and you have to join another club. But if any of that matters to you, just food for thought there, to be fair. And that's my number one. Let's hop to number two. Okay, number two on my list, I'm calling mid to north Lakewood Ranch, Florida. So basically the area above downtown Lakewood Ranch. And this is kind of finishing the Lakewood Ranch conversation in general. So now that we have a little bit of context, we can start comparing. And the real question that is begged here, why would you do this if you could do Waterside? Well, a lot of the original value of how Lakewood Ranch was constructed and the original plan all lies here. This is where Road 70 corridor and going north even to State Road 64, this is where the affordability existed. This is where you could go to get new golf. Esplanade Golf and Country Club, Esplanade Azario, Lakewood National. You have old school stuff even like Terra and Rosedale. All of that's in this area because the plan didn't originally have Waterside in it back in the day when they built this in 1995. So all of that clustered in one area and it was up north. The good schools, Lakewood Ranch High School, a lot of people really enjoy that. It's quite a bit north in town. It's way up there above State Road 70. So, and then just the general family friendliness element of what Lakewood Ranch's original plan was, and, the young families that came in, then aged out, and then, the empty nesters that come back, and all of that still resides where the bulk of the communities were built. So what I would say now as we are juxtaposing these a little bit more is, what does this area solve or satiate that maybe Waterside can't or won't based on the plan? I think one of those is actual variety, housing variety, right? Like, 9 to 11 neighborhoods, 12 neighborhoods in Waterside's great, but Lakewood Ranch has a ton. And what you have here is you also have resale. Like Summerfield was the first community ever built. Greenbrook is second. You have Central Park, you have Mallory Park, you have, on and on and on and on. All those communities are up in this area, and you can buy a home that was built in 2002, you can buy a home that was built in 2010, and Waterside is brand new. It's brand spanking new. There's not going to be resale stuff in a maturity sense in a long, long time. The second thing is actual affordability, depending on how you think about it. I did mention you could buy a home for less than $350,000 in Waterside, but not the average Joe home. If you're going to go at $350,000 in Waterside, it's most likely going to be a townhome, a villa, or a very, very small single family, because the target demographic here on paper looks like it's more in someone downsizing, not in family affordability. So at $315,000, you might get a 1,700 square foot home that doesn't have the bedrooms and bathrooms that would fit the family model. The area where that would exist would be up in the northern part of Lakewood Ranch. That's where you'd get the 4-bedroom, 2,500 square foot home with Lennar. All that kind of stuff's going to exist up there. So when it comes to actual affordability for the whole spectrum of all the buyers that could buy, from the empty nester to the full-on family with 3 kids, that might not be an option under $800,000-$900,000 in Waterside now, or I don't know, many years into the future, very possibly. And the other thing is the longevity of the development of this continuing to be a thing. This is where the land's at. That's the thing, like Waterside, it went towards Sarasota. You can't keep doing that. There's nowhere else to go towards Sarasota without wiping out what's already there. So the Waterside district, yes, will expand. It will go east to west, all that kind of thing, but it simply is not, I don't think it's going to be built with the lakes and the land there. It's not going to be built in a way where they're going to solve what I just mentioned they're not solving now. I don't think they want to. I think it's just a different concept, right? But up north, they can. Because if you look at the grids of the Lakewood Ranch maps, they're doing the same thing they've always done, right? Sarasota is built going east to west, north to south in grids. That's why it's easy to understand once you get it. The Interstate 75 runs north to south, Tamiami Trails, the coastal north to south. You have east to west to get to town. You go Fruitville, University, State Road 70, State Road 64, and you keep going, right? Well, when Lakewood Ranch was built, it was built hugging the interstate. So the interstate was over here. You had Lakewood Ranch Boulevard, and then they went to Lorraine, and then you have Uline, you have Bourneside. Well, all of that original stuff by the high school was built over here. It was built in the first part they did. Lakewood Ranch High School, Indigo Community, Mallory Park, Central Park, all of that was built on this one corridor going north to Lakewood Ranch Boulevard. Well, when they expanded, they went to Lorraine. It's a mirror. And that's when they put out the new Pulte communities like Sapphire Point. Esplanade Azario went to the right of the other Esplanade, right? But if you look at them on a map, it's the same thing they've always done, right? Well, they're going to keep going. They're going to do it again to Bourneside. They're going to keep going to town, which kind of sneaks your way into Sarasota a little bit. But all that to say, there is room. So you're going to have a long period of time if you're not ready to buy now, or you're maneuvering, or you're thinking through things, to be able to navigate similar conversations. And the more they go east, the more they go north, it's not going to come at a price premium. So that's where I would bucket these two versus each other. All right, number 3 on our list, now that you got a real good 1-2 punch of context, which I think is important for this conversation. And we're talking Wellen Park. So we're going South Venice, Western Northport, and we're talking another new master plan area. And the way I would look at this to me is, if you loved a lot about Waterside, you loved that it was communal and it had everything bundled in, it had some walkability, it was like living in a downtown urban district, but a suburb housing version. If you love all that, then what Wellen Park to me is, it's more coastal, smaller, cheaper, quaint, and alternative stylistically to the lifestyle of that of Waterside. And for example's sake, right, I mentioned that Waterside has about, 11, 12 different communities. I mean, some haven't been announced yet, but it does in essence, right? Well, Waterside is one district within the 35 to 40 communities Lakewood Ranch has to offer. It's massive. It's massive in size and acreage and everything, right? Well, Waterside's about the entire size of Wellen Park in itself, but you don't have another 25 communities behind it, right? So the whole entire thing is not only new, but it's a lot smaller, because not everyone wants Pleasantville necessarily, but they might want a new house that's not just in a random area, just a one-off, right? So it solves that. Number 2 is this part of the state. I mentioned Waterside, regardless of the way you look at it, 35, 40 minutes one way to the beach, regardless of what the miles say to get over there. It's going to be 35 to 40 minutes one way to Lido Beach, Barrier Island. Well, the way that the state, as you go down in the state, how much closer you get to the water innately because of the shape of this part of Florida, Venice, it's really hard to get 35 minutes one way to the beach, regardless of where you are in the entire district, right? So you're just already closer. And the other thing is, Venice Beach is the first non-barrier island of all the islands. So it's not bridge to beach, which that adds a whole nother layer of time. So this one, when you're in Wellen Park, you're going to be, realistically, you're 18 to 25 minutes one way to the beaches. Because of its location, you have 2 options. You can do Englewood, Manasota Key, or you can do the Venice beaches, because you're kind of in the middle. Englewood, or opposite on camera here, Englewood and Venice, right? Venice has 3 beaches: Venice, Casperson, Shark's Tooth, capital of the world, and Burrowheart Beach is the only dog beach in the county. So again, stylistically, you got to want these beaches, not Siesta Key. But you're going to be innately not only closer, but it's hard to describe. It feels more coastal. The non-barrier island thing, you can feel the breeze. It feels coastal by being in a full-on suburb, which is unique. The bridges and the barrier islands really separate inland from beach. And in Venice, it feels a lot more combined. So that's the other thing. Third is the cheaper idea, right? Well, the thing about the cheaper, it's perspective affordability. But I mentioned that Waterside, Waterside's a premium outfit. Waterside was an addition that added a level of premium to Lakewood Ranch, not at a discount. And I mentioned if you wanted to, you needed a cheaper criteria or something different, bigger space, whatever, you have to go north. Well, if you loved Waterside and your criteria didn't work, and you're someone that wouldn't even move to Sarasota if the solution to that was by going in the middle of Lakewood Ranch. You don't just love Lakewood Ranch for Lakewood Ranch. You loved what Waterside was. Well, what Wellen Park gives you, it gives you the prices of North Lakewood Ranch with the same lifestyle as Waterside. That's the best way to slice it. It's far more affordable, but it gives you its own downtown. It's incredibly walkable. Most of Waterside's not even that walkable. If you look at it on the map, some communities are. Wellen Park is all walkable if you're in the Playmore district. It's as golf cart friendly as the villages up in Central Florida. And all of that, that community, the inclusiveness, all of that stuff that I described about Waterside that's lovely, it's far, far cheaper. You have 13-ish different neighborhoods. There's a 55 and up that's built by Mattamy, which is one of the more affordable partners. Multiple Neal communities. You have a Toll Brothers outfit in there that's their more affordable brand. You have Sam Rogers in there doing a close-knit custom neighborhood. The Arthur Ruttenberg is coming down there, Lee Wetherington, Homes by West Bay. You got all that coming. You got Lennar Golf, all of that. But all of it puts an affordability cap compared to that of Waterside, in my opinion. So that's how I look at Wellen Park if you were comparing Lakewood Ranch versus Venice. Okay, option number 4, we start to get a little bit more like locals' opinion and vague and ambiguous here, but I'm gonna try to articulate the best I can. And that's the idea of North Venice to Nokomis. Talked about this on some previous videos in the last couple of weeks about this being, the next Palmer Ranch, more or less. But what you have here in essence is Sarasota County involves not just Sarasota, right? But it involves Venice, which I mentioned, and Englewood, which I mentioned is all in the county, Northport. But it also has 2 little areas called Nokomis and Osprey. And those are basically the towns that when you leave Sarasota and you're driving to Venice, you pass through. And that's what they were. They're awesome on a map, amazing. But just old school, like there's neighborhoods there, but not in any sort of inclusive master plan way, none of that. Palmer Ranch was the old school suburb before Lakewood Ranch was built. That's in very South Sarasota. So before Lakewood Ranch went north, that was in South, but that's all you had. And the rest was just little random neighborhoods, not gated communities, just little neighborhoods mixed in, north, south, whatever. That was Sarasota's landscape. Well, the thing about the new suburbs, they went to fringes. So what I mean by that is that you do get an amazing lifestyle, but they needed land. And one went way northeast, which is Lakewood, and one went, Wellen's south. It's real south, right? It's south, south of the island by 18 minutes, right? And the island in Venice is central. Well, what if none of that works for you because you don't want to go, you don't need all that, right? You don't want to buy like some random old school house in Sarasota, but you don't also want to immediately go to the alternative of Master Plan USA. Well, this one starts to solve a middle ground. Because while there was nothing there before, now this gives you a mix. And what I mean by that is one in central location. North Venice to Nokomis is just under Sarasota, but it's quite a bit above the island. So you have a little easier access to all of Sarasota stuff, all of Lakewood Ranch's stuff, and all of Venice's stuff in a more central nature. Also, where you used to have maybe 3 or 4 new communities, Silo, Vincenza, with Neal, you had Tuscana Isles with D.R. Horton, and some random stuff like that. They've come with the advent of many more communities. Like the development heaviness here is going to be incredible. You have Magnolia Bay, Tiburon, Ventura, Vistera, Talon Preserves over there in Nokomis. And then you add the stuff that was already there, Venice Woodlands, all this kind of stuff. Then if you look at the way the new communities are and the existing communities, the way they're merging and the shape of the map, it's like a Palmer Ranch, right? They're technically building independently now, but there's a freshwater lagoon coming. There's a 55 and up coming. And pretty soon you're going to accidentally have 15 different new construction options right there. And with the primary driver for you choosing it being the central nature and then the affordability that comes with living in an area that people can't get their head around quite yet. It's random. It's mixed. Lakewood Ranch is easy. It looks like it does online. Wellen Park's there. Wellen Park at maturity will get more expensive. because it'll be this sexy player that everybody comes into. The supply and demand will push it to higher pricing. Well, these like random areas that only locals understand the true value of that to town are super underrated right now. So I think looking at North Venice to Nokomis as a solution to not wanting the first three things I described could be incredibly compelling. Okay, the fifth one on the list, I'm calling just Central Sarasota. So this is gonna be the most similar to North Venice to Nokomis conversation. And it's weirdly both more mature, in my opinion, and less mature than the last example. This is just Sarasota, how people think of it. It's not Lakewood, it's not a master plan suburb. It's just the area where everybody kind of wants to be. It's parallel to Siesta Key. It's where all the other communities are already built. It's not too far north. It's not too far south. It's kind of in the middle. Everything that Sarasota is known for is 8 to 10 miles away, right? Well, the problem with that conversation is that especially if you heavily deal with people that are relocating like we do, most people come really targeted new construction a lot of the time, at least to learn. And they look at Lakewood Ranch, they look at Wellen, and then they look at everything else. And this area is incredibly hard to understand if you're not from here because it's random. There's a lot of random communities that people don't know how to pick between them. They're house to house. And they don't know if they're moving here with a family with the demographic. It's hard to predict, and new construction's easier simply, right? But if Lakewood Ranch was based in the middle of Sarasota, not where Lakewood Ranch is, this wouldn't even be a conversation. What's the best option? Because it's the reason everybody wants to be in Sarasota. It's the beaches, and it's the culture, it's the art, it's everything that made it special in the first place, right? Well, it's more mature because of those reasons. It already was here, and people are like, all right, well, I don't want to buy a resale home, and all I got over there is artistry and Sky Ranch and kind of Grand Park, and I don't really know what to do new construction-wise, and I don't know what's going to happen with it next. So they go with the easier option. And the question you have to ask yourself, really, is if the North Venice and Nokomis sounds interesting because this is a central proximity game alone, right? I'd want access to Sarasota, Lakewood, Venice, and all of it, right? Not one, if I could choose. But would you pick North Venice and Nokomis if Central Sarasota had the same amount of neighborhoods in the same way? I don't know, right? Because it technically is more central. What does it do to the value prop of North Venice and Nokomis? So I wanted to mention that because I think it's an interesting conversation. I mean, going east on Fruitville, with Fruitville Commons right there, Waterside's pretty far south in the Lakewood Ranch conversation. This one's not that far from Venice. You know, Lakewood Ranch is exit 213, Venice is exit 202. You're going to sit here at exit 205 in the middle. And what might happen next is going to be incredibly interesting for a futuristic view on this. And I know this is getting stream of consciousness too much, but if you've read anything about the East Fruitville expansion, Hi-Hat Ranch, there's a new ODA elementary school going there because ODA has been on Siesta Key forever, and the high school's out in Lakewood Ranch just because of land arrangements. So they're going to put another option there of a lower school. I've heard, I think it's a lower school in Mid-Sarasota. There's another school coming there. They're building shopping centers there. This is supposed to be an incredible master plan suburb of the future. I think 2035, something like that, where you can come to town and you can choose between Lakewood Ranch, the Lakewood Ranch version of Sarasota, North Venice, and Wellen Park. Actually have 4 options. So now you can choose what part of town you actually want to live in. Because I found a lot of people end up in a part of town kind of for that reason, but a lot because of their criteria. They're taking the best of the options. They're not taking their best option. So that's how I look at Central Sarasota. Okay, the 6th one on the list, it's kind of more of a category than it is an area, but I just wanted to talk about some things I think are interesting right now in 24 if this applies to you, and that's for the golfer, the golf enthusiast, whether it's in your neighborhood or not. And this is what I'm seeing right now. So one, most people are kind of hot on either a club or an area first. They're not saying, where's the golf, where's the new golf, and then tell me all the areas I could go do it in. They're already kind of honed in on one thing, and then they're trying to compare, basically. So if we take the same approach, let's talk Lakewood Ranch first, just the variety riddenness of it. And, new golf has become a lot more sparse. A couple of years ago, you had 2 to 3 total clubs you could buy in that were new construction golf. Not the case anymore. So if you want new construction house right now with golf, you basically just have Esplanade Azario left. It's still a really good value prop to me. They got a little squirrely with their pricing, but Esplanade Azario by Taylor Morrison, unbelievable amenities. I still think a good bang for your buck on the bundled golf, 1,500 homes. It's probably 600 something a month on membership right now with bundled golf. Beautiful golf course. Still interesting. Great floor plans there. The neighboring community, Esplanade Golf and Country Club, is another one you can juxtapose because Most of those homes, if not all of them, were built after 2010. Still really new. Older model is just different updates and stuff, but still the same model. Great amenities, one club. Lakewood National finished. That was the other option you used to have. It was like rental friendly. They had villas and condos. It was a lot cheaper, and 2 private golf courses, which are lovely. But beyond that, it's kind of dried up for the most part when it comes to new construction golf. So if you're a golfer right now, what I see people doing is they're going to a different area completely, or they're trying to wait for one of the new construction things I'm going to mention, or they're going to an old school club. So Lakewood Ranch Golf and Country Club, which has west and east, and has 3 golf courses that are private inside of it, and then Legacy sits outside of it, which is public. That is basically your own real option beyond like the Ritz and stuff. That's your own real option if you live, like think about anywhere on University, anywhere within that neighborhood, obviously, and all of Waterside. There's no golf. So that's a big thing right now. And there's no real golf that can be built below it. But I heard something crazy. If this happens, it'd be really interesting. So I've heard that they're trying to solve that need, right? So Lakewood Ranch Golf and Country Club's private. It's privately owned. It's not bundled with the members. Like there's many members that live in like the Isles or the Lake Club that are members there, right? And it's on a wait list. That's half the problem right now. But private means it can also be sold, right? So I've heard that it's the final stages of 2 venture capital firms competing for it. But it's going to be sold. I heard it's going to be sold, but more in like a good way. What they want to do basically, the plan that I heard was that so it's got 3 private courses right now. They want to basically buy one of the existing, which Legacy would make a lot of sense. Legacy sits right outside the gate. Buy one of the existing, make it private, bring it inside the gates, and bring it to a 4th course, redo it, make it nicer, all that kind of stuff, and then open a 5th. So potentially providing 900 to 1,000 new members access, which would be mostly fulfilled. I mean, some of it probably would be fulfilled from Country Club West people that didn't have access to their own wait list or something like that. But mostly be fulfilled for people that want to live in like Wild Blue or the Lake Club or something like that, or Monaco Estates or something like that, and then golf inside here. I think that would be amazing. But also, I've heard rumblings the same that there's a Lennar golf community that's coming on the Bourne side that will be like another Lakewood National. I think it's going to be a single course that would come with a neighborhood. So that could be another one. If you've watched the evolution of what happened with Lakewood National and then the pricing of like Lorraine Lakes and Polo and all that kind of stuff, then if you get in early on this one, that's kind of hard to replicate. You can rent 12 times a year, 1 month at a time. These things are way cheaper than the average housing. And those Lennar golf courses were really nice. Like that's the thing is like they build scale standardized non-custom homes, but they're beautiful golf courses. I think their other 2 in Lakewood National rank like in the top 4 of the area golf courses or whatever. So I've heard that. So that's a couple things I would say. I would not discount completely resale golf. That's the thing is if you come from out of state, a lot of people will talk like there's only new. But Sarasota is known for resale golf. There's hundreds of courses around the area. The Oaks in Nokomis, it's bougie, but very lovely. Bent Tree in South Sarasota, Laurel Oaks, Serenoa in South Sarasota. I really try to take a deep dive with like Chris Sarah on my team. He's a really good resource, or someone in our organization or another organization, whatever, of someone really taking you through a learning process of resale golf communities and how they compare to the new. That'd be another interesting one. And lastly, I've talked about on previous videos, but there's some custom neighborhoods that are coming to East Fruitville area, east of the interstate, that are going to be unbelievable. They're like really highly designed by world-renowned architects, and you can do custom homes in them. And that's a lot of the new construction golf hasn't come with custom homes. And I've not heard many plans. So again, reach out. We've mentioned those in previous videos, but I can get you all that information as well. But that's what I'd say about number 6. Okay, and the last one for my list, I wanted to talk about true urban coastal living. And there's a few different interesting ways to go about this. Let's talk single families first. Condos are a whole different animal. So if I'm looking at single families and I'm going to like Sarasota for the Sarasota reasons, there's a couple unique things you can do. One, downtown Sarasota itself has a bit of a presence of like romantic, charming, historical neighborhoods. Burns Court is lovely. Laurel Park is lovely. There's Towles Court. You have districts like that. And the other thing you really got to juxtapose is east of the trail versus west of the trail. Tamiami Trail is our coastal interstate for all intents and purposes. And the thing about the Barrier Islands and what it creates is the closest you can get to the beach without being on the beach, because being on the beach is a true commitment. You're on the beach or you're not, right? Well, west of the trail versus east of the trail creates very close proximity to downtown and the beaches without having to fully be on them. You're inland, you can go about, and then you can go to the beach in a couple miles, right? Well, west of the trail, in the area of McClellan Park, Bayview, Oyster, Granada, all that kind of stuff, right? Cherokee Park, one of my favorite neighborhoods of all time. That area is about the best single-family coastal mousetrap. It has highly rated schools, beautiful homes, no HOAs. It comes at a premium, but you can have a full-on large lot, large family home and be 1 mile from downtown, 2.5 miles from Lido Beach, 4.5 miles to Siesta Key, and be on the bay at the same time. That's incredibly unique, but also comes at a price premium. East of the trail is the other way to navigate, just simply being across the road behind downtown the other direction. You save a ton of money. So that would be Arlington Park. That would be a way to Rosemary to look at that conversation. Okay, beyond that, let's talk condos. So if you condo and beach living in totality, there's a couple interesting districts to do. One is you can live in downtown, 90 plus resale condominiums, and several new now. You have DeMarque, you have the Soda, which I love, you have the Edge, you have the new one in the Rosemary district. But you can live in downtown and face the beaches. And again, keep that same proximity of getting a little bit of everything, but not being like on the beach. And you can be in urban infill downtown, so be a couple streets back from the water, or you can be right on a street called Gulfstream, which overlooks the water, but it's not on the beach. That's one way to do it. Another one would be go to a district called the Quay, and which is adjacent to the bay. And the Quay is a 14-acre waterfront district of mixed-use space. It has multiple luxury condominium buildings, hotels. It's going to have lower-level retail, and it is next to this bay, which is this huge, I think, 53-acre park, mixed use. There's like a little amphitheater there. The Van Wezel Performing Arts is over there. And that's another way of not being on the beach, but being a lot closer. This is the closest you can get to the water without being on it. It's at the foot of the Ben Franklin Bridge to Lido. It has a level of new luxury condominium there that downtown just really doesn't have because of space. So you have one park, you have multiple Ritz Carlton condominiums, the Beso that was built a couple of years ago, and there's more coming there, but lovely, lovely area. You could also go to an area called Golden Gate Point. So Golden Gate Point is interesting because it's a peninsula, so it's obviously surrounded by water, 3 sides, but that gets you a little further from downtown. It's like the front of Sarasota. Like if you look at it on a map, it's got like the best view in the Sarasota, Florida metro in totality. It's like this really unique thing. And it's a mix of stuff that already existed, new luxury condominiums, but it feels like it's a neighborhood. It feels like one roundabout. It's very, very quaint. It's hard to describe. It's very, very quaint, and it feels very different than the Quay, which is going to feel like an average luxury condominium landscape. And then you have the beaches. Siesta Key is where my parents live. It's always going to feel more touristy, but it's going to be way more laid back. Way more approachable, laid back, very rental friendly, very touristy feeling. Longboat Key is going to be a lot more residential. Both of those 2 keys are about 7-8 miles long, but Longboat Key is a lot more private feeling. The beach accesses aren't as public. A lot more people live there as a homestead. It's very different orientation there. So as a primary residence that's a little bit more upscale, that's going to be Longboat Key. Anna Maria Island's all the way at the tip. It's going to be more like Siesta Key than Longboat, but it's the northernmost tip of Sarasota before St. Pete. And then I've already talked Venice. Englewood, Manasota Key is going to be a quaint, cheaper version. But you have to understand that there's nothing below Englewood except for the water and Cape Coral. So you're going to a fringe. So that's how I would sum up if you're interested in a speed round of coastal urban living. All right, my friends, that's a wrap for our 2024 A to Z guide to Sarasota, Florida. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I wanted to give you a little bit different view of how I think about it. If you can watch the 2023 version too, which is much more like bop, 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 bop kind of thing too. So the two together could be interesting. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I mentioned the 2024 downloadable Sarasota Manatee Guide. Adds a lot of stuff that we can't really do on this platform. It's completely free. Links will be on the video and in the description box below. And then finally, if you are in the market, returning to the market, you're looking at Florida real estate in any capacity, buying, selling, and or investing, relocation, new construction, everything in between. please consider reaching out to my company, the Sunshine State Company. We have a very unique team. We arrange a lot of things unique to try to provide as much value as possible. And if you're relocating or something like that, that it's something that we do all day, every day. We really have refined valuing your time, what you need to do first, how much time you need to spend with an agent. We really try to add value in an industry that sometimes can be fickle. So please consider reaching out, at least having a conversation. Nothing really replaces that. But most importantly, thank you guys so much for the continued support. I'm very excited about 2024 when it comes to this value-based content. I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg there. So thank you guys so much as always. We'll see you on the next one.